I would consider myself a very easygoing engine, but there are things that I hate, winter being one of them. No, it's not because I'm a Christmas Grinch, it's because the snowbound season brings with it a whole host of problems. Ports will often shut down due to ice-covered waters, so a railway loses out on its transportation contracts. A great many mining-based industries will sometimes close for the season, so we're denied these jobs as well. Finally, there's the snow itself. Whenever there's a heavy downpour on the stuff, sidings may become blocked and main lines obstructed. These will often lead to cancelled trains. Mickey does his best to keep the tracks free of snow, with the rest of us offering our assistance by taking up our compass and ploughs. But of every engine on Sodor, there were two in particular who excelled at clearing snow. In their pre-LMS days, Donald and Douglas worked on the Caledonian Railway in Scotland. To hear them tell it, the snowdrifts there were 30 feet deep, meaning it was child's play for them to clear the ones on Sodor, even being so-called bad periods. Thanks to the tireless efforts, many yards were cleared, and many engines pulled from a snowy situation. In December of 1937, the pair were called to the scene of rather heavy drift. It took the rest of the day for the two middies to dig Henry out of that drift, with Mickey commending them for their excellent work. After a quick inspection, our number 3 was deemed to be in perfect working order. All the same, Mickey gave them a helping buffer. By the time he returned to Knapford, night had fallen. Do you lads want to hear about him? We're not going to change history by ignoring it, Toby. Oh yes, he did. And this is the story I told. Arthur was a mixed traffic engine for the Middies, one of their earliest additions when they first came to Sodor. Without question, he was the most boastful engine I had ever known. He was forever prattling on about his spotless record, how he had never once been late. What made it worse was that it was true. Somehow, he always delivered his trains on time and without failure. He was also never shy about calling out his engines who were late, even if they were on his own crew. Unfortunately, this pride was what led to his downfall. He was late one night in the winter of 1923 when he had to take an express train. He had suffered a delay and couldn't get out of the station quick enough when he was finally allowed to leave. Eager to make up for lost time, desperate to preserve his spotless record, he tore down the line at a criminally reckless speed. This, combined with poor visibility, the icy rails, and the steep descent of Gordon's Hill, there was small wonder what happens next. Came right off the rails. He and his coachers rolled almost 100 yards before stopping, but that wasn't the worst of it. Come now, Thomas, you don't really believe that. They can't all be right either. It's reckoned every year on the anniversary of Arthur's death that his ghost appears, hoping desperately to reach its destination, so he and the tormented souls of his victims could finally be at peace. Thank you, Henry. Thomas, stop going on about nonsense, please. No, I don't. And until I see one for myself, I'll remain a skeptic. Now, I'm going to sleep. Good night, lads. Of course, having told that story, I didn't sleep well, and neither did everyone else. As I said before, winter was a time when Sodor's various industries closed for the season, with one noticeable exception: coal. Without this black, dirty stuff, industry would grind to a halt. Winter didn't impede its importance either, with long train loads filled with the maternal being delivered to power plants and the like. But for such a vital industry, I'm sorry to say that the Marsden Heights coal mine on Sodor was very inefficient. This was because the mine didn't have its own shunter, and this was because its owner, Franklin Merv, was something of a penny pincher, who calculated it was cheaper to pay a shunting fee than to keep an on-site engine. This was a poor arrangement, as we often argued with the middies over who got to use the chutes first, with the trucks being left everywhere. It finally got so bad that the board forced Mr. Merv's hand and purchased an engine. On the day she arrived at the mine, she would find Diesel and Thomas arguing by the chutes. And it wasn't long before everyone else came to like her too. Kate quickly made the mine her own. She took care of all inbound and outbound trains, implementing a very efficient system that appeased Minnis and Nor'esters alike. Thanks to her, every coal shipment was organised and dispatched in a timely manner. One of these deliveries, Percy was to make to Kildane, setting out late in the afternoon. Night had fallen by the time he reached Wellsworth. That was when it happened. Really? Already? That went by quick. Did he enjoy it? What was it called? 7 Dwarves? Sounds a little odd to me. Definitely more than me. Who was that? Huh? That's odd. I thought Reginald was due in. Unfortunately, I wouldn't have been able to help, as the engine was faceless, meaning talking to it would have been like talking to a wall. I will say there was something very unsettling about that train. That chilling scream came from the woman who dared to press her face to the shadowy window of one of these coaches. Whatever it was she saw became hysterical and turned as white as the snow around us. Her shriek ensured these passengers on the platform jumped back 10 feet, with no one daring to get any closer. I admit, I was scared witless by this event, which quickly worsened. "Reginald! Look out!" "Reginald? Reginald, are you all right?" "Bust my buffers. I'd better go and see if he's okay." "Reginald?" Yes, there was. That's right. I don't know how, Reginald. We must have. I can't think of anyone else. I owe Thomas an apology. I'm sorry to say that the incident would make the papers. The story made all the more tragic by the sad fact that the woman from that night was committed to an insane asylum. Business dropped dramatically for both companies as our passengers avoided us like the plague, as did our goods clients. Other engines also encountered the ghost train, causing a widespread deep immoral. The situation finally became unbearable, forcing some of us to come together to discuss a solution. All right, so we all know why we're here. Thank you, Douglas. Now this ghost has been terrorising the line, and we need to find a way to get rid of it. I realise this is a unique situation, meaning as far as I'm concerned, there are no foolish ideas. If you have one, put it forward. I checked. He doesn't do exorcists. I don't know. Whenever it will be, we can't afford to wait for him. About that, Percy. The ghost you saw, what did it look like? Because it wasn't Arthur. Arthur was a big red engine, Percy, with the letters LMS on his side tanks. The engine I saw at Marin did not match that description. No, Peter, one ghost of unknown origin. And the engine I saw was pulling MIDI coaches. It can't be a coincidence. So, no, Toby, I guess it can't be sure it isn't Arthur. You have an idea, Toby? We really appreciate what you're doing, sir. Is everything in place, Diesel? This is certainly a way to leave your mark on history, then. Diesel! What? We're not that lucky, old chap. Well done, Mr. Zorro. Jolly good work, Toby. If we all had your insight, this would be a much better world. And for the longest time afterwards, neither could anyone else. The relief we all felt was intense, Life gradually returned to normal on Sodor. As time went by, the story of Arthur's ghost was told over and over again, fading from history into folklore and then into legend. But it will always be real to those of us who were there, and while we never saw Arthur's ghost again, who's to say that we won't?